This is the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan,
What a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is!
Sam Ballard Jr.,
Call me Sam. What's the matter? Haven't you ever seen a talking snowman before?
Neil Rutt III,
Who am I? The name's Yukon Cornelius, the greatest prospector in the North!
and Josh Matthews.
Sure was full.
I figured
That's the most accurate introduction we've ever had. My goodness. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the RPM Podcast. We have a packed house back at the Matthews family studio. Joining us tonight, we got, of course, Josh Matthews. With Josh, intro is perfection, my friend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's amazing. Neil Rutt III is back. Neil, I love you. I miss you. I'm happy to see you.
I wish the feelings were the same.
So, you're just playing hard to get.
Yeah, no.
Also, as promised, we have Bryan O'Shea, Factory Stock Rookie of the Year for 2017 at Wall Stadium Speedway. Bryan, you do in fact speak, so just say hello to the world for me, please, to prove it.
Hello. Meep.
There you go.
Meep.
And back once again, our lovely lady, Hannah DiMartino. Hi, Hannah.
Our. We share her.
You know, it's funny.
Oh, man.
Hannah was so energetic the whole time we were getting ready to do this because I was taking forever to get ready. And now that it's like showtime, she's like all like shelled up and stuff.
Yeah, thank God.
She'll come out of her shell.
God. This is gonna be a good
We just
episode.
got here. So be
Oh,
quiet
that's
in my
rough.
corner.
All right. Anyway, Eric, so what do we have on tap today? Because, I mean, as you can see, this is going to be our, I guess, our final episode of the year of 2017. Christmas just around the corner. You can see I did a little decorating in here. Even got us a nice little,
Christmas.
temporary Christmas tree.
Fern.
No,
It's a
no.
fern.
Hannah.
The Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. So
I love
mean,
it.
we're gonna have a little fun with this, and just celebrate the holiday, the season. And I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Well, obviously, it's been a great year all the way around. And now that we're in a little bit of the off season, some of the motorsports headlines and topics are a little bit hard to come by. But there are some stuff that is breaking relatively off track. And I think especially today because of the fact that we have Hannah. And this is also something that I wanted to talk with Nancy Riggleman about when we have her and Scott on the show. The conversation of male and female athletes in sporting leagues has been a big topic of conversation, not only in racing, but also in the stick and ball side of the sports. And this has become, it's kind of come to a head a little bit in terms of the FIA, where they have a Women in Motorsport Commission. And according to a most recent published report about a week ago, and a source, Jalopnik, for putting a story together highlighting somebody who should have gotten this position, but the FIA decided to appoint Renault Formula One test driver Carmen Jorda to their Women in Motorsport Commission, overlooking some other female talented open-wheel athletes, one of which being noted as Pippa Mann. Now, why is this important? Well, I'll give you the backstory. Apparently, Carmen Jorda was interviewed by a few media outlets in Europe, as she suggested that women are not capable, and I'm paraphrasing, but you can find the quote out there, women are not capable of competing against their male counterparts in motorsports. She likened the fact of like how there's the WNBA in basketball, there's women's softball leagues and whatnot, and she believes that there needs to be a women's only form of motorsport, which is something that the FIA is apparently in the process of creating. And that was a story that broke back in June. So being that we have Hannah here, now Hannah, I understand that you don't race, but I know your dad does, but you do have a female's perspective. You're friends with some female drivers. We've all seen some female racers. Josh, Bryan, Neil, you've all competed against female drivers. I figured this would be a good opportunity to present this subject. Yes. On the track.
Yeah. I don't mean, yeah, sure.
Not the direction where we're going, Neil.
All right,
So,
let's get back to it.
Hannah, I want to start with you. In terms of looking at motorsports as a whole, do you think that it is the one sport or a sport where women can, in fact, compete against the men and be successful, or do you think it's time that women have a spotlight of their own?
I mean, it would be cool to have just a female like racing division, but look at Shauna Ingram. She won a modified race. She just ran with the big boys. Like, girls can run with the big guys. Like,
Mhm. Now, Josh, I know that we've joked before, especially with me, because I've coined the phrase "I keep my women and my racing separate." I don't mean it in this sense, and I'll give my opinion in just a little bit. But you raced against Tiffany Olenek, who has, I believe, 3 factory stock wins in her career. Hannah mentioned Shauna Ingram, who, if memory serves me correct, has 2 wins to her career. Neil, Daria McLaren got her first win in a 4-cylinder this season. Probably many more to come, because ever since she got that win, she was running great for the rest of the year. I mean, it's been proven on our local level that women can be successful in motorsports. When we look at something like Formula One, or even the top level of NASCAR, even IndyCar, where there's only been one female winner, Danica Patrick, and I'll whisper the fact, that it was on fuel mileage.
Same shit. I'm tangled over here.
Will we ever see a female driver actually contend in one of these premier portions of motorsports on a consistent level? Is that something that we think is possible, or do we need a separate series for it?
Consistent. I think it's going to happen at least once. Is it going to be a stunt or a promotional thing? Maybe at first. I mean, Danica Patrick brought in, probably a lot of money, especially merchandise sales and things like that, for, whether people thought she was attractive or, because it was a novelty, sure. I don't think she's a bad driver. I've said this in the past. I think it was an equipment issue and not anatomy equipment, just what she was driving.
Right.
She may have been a top team, but, that the top driver on the team is going to get the best equipment or the most attention. So I think that was part of the problem. We've seen in karting, and as you mentioned, in the local level, I mean, I have 0 wins in the division. And, as you mentioned, Tiffany, she has every win she has is more than mine. So I think it will happen. There is a stigma to it right now. It's going to go away, and I'm not talking about, gender and all that stuff, the fun political climate. I'm just saying that it is going to go away. It's fading, and I think eventually you will. But F1 has other issues right now, and we've talked about, whether Formula E is going to be overtaking Formula One as, the premier series to watch, at some point in the future. I mean, definitely not right away, but at some point. And if you're going to go and then create an all-female division on top of that, I don't know. I think you're just flooding the market, and you're only going to hurt yourself right now. It may be interesting to watch, and it may be good. But you said this girl, the lady that they selected to put into this position,
right? Carmen Jordan
is already a test driver for a Formula One team, correct?
Yes, she's a Renault test driver, which we have seen in the past before. A lot of people remember Maria Di Valita, who was a test driver for, I believe back then it was Manor. I mean, unfortunately, she was critically injured in a testing accident, and injuries sustained in that accident ended up taking her life about a year or 2 removed from it. But we have seen a female test driver in that position in Formula One. We've never seen a female Formula One driver just yet. But to keep that parallel going, we have seen successful female racers in other forms of motorsports, and the one that jumps out right away is drag racing. I mean, countless female, all the way from Shirley Muldowney, who kind of paved the way for it, up until, Ashley Forrest Hood, Courtney Forrest grabbing the championship this year in Top Fuel. Alexis DeJoria has had an incredible year. Erica Enders, former Pro Stock champion. I mean, the list goes on in terms of female racers in drag racing. But for whatever reason, we haven't seen that parallel or that transition in stock cars or open wheel racing. And Neil, I think one of the reasons may be, and I'm going to point this question towards you, is when you get to that level. Well, because when I look at guys, I have all the racers that I have sitting in the room, Josh, Neil, Bryan, I consider you all to be in that classification of a journeyman racer. Like, you guys have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week in order to be able to play with your race car on Saturday. When you get to the major forms of motorsports now, it's not about that anymore. Talent is what makes you successful at your Saturday night short track. Very rarely does a driver back into a win regardless of circumstances at a Saturday night short track. It's the talent that gets them there. Sometimes the talent has to overcome the equipment in order to make it happen.
I've seen the equipment play a large
Neil,
role.
not Josh.
I'm sorry. I couldn't let him. Yeah, it was bugging me too much. I had to interrupt him. I'm sorry. I think equipment is a huge part of it.
No, it always is, but you also see people do well in spite of, like, for example, I think of our buddy Robert French, who drove his family's own car his entire legend car racing career at Wall, except for one day he got the nod to drive Peter Bruno's car. And not a knock on Peter, he's a friend of mine, but Robert finished second in a car that Peter couldn't finish better than sixth in, and that kind of showed something. I remember the first time that Brian Doyle got in a Sportsman. It was Tommy Kern's old car, and Tommy got mad at me because I said that Brian gave the car the best run it had. I was just speaking off the stat sheet. I wasn't saying anything that was inaccurate. So, the talent has a lot to do with it. And I guess the point that I'm making, Neil, is, we're more susceptible to seeing that at a track like Wall Stadium or whatever than we would on a national level. Because on a national level, it's how pretty the girl is in the fire suit. How many Nature's Bakeries cookies she could sell, and whatever else you got to throw in there. And I think that's what makes it a little bit more tougher to see somebody who actually has the talent to belong in a top tier level of racing. And just as a general summary, I'm just curious what you feel about the whole topic of conversation.
I don't know. I'm not gonna bash like any female drivers. Like if they get behind the wheel, I respect them. I respect if they're trannies, whatever the hell they are. I just like. The top level, you got to think they do 500 miles, 300 miles. It's a challenge for them. I'm not saying like girls are, not stronger, but like they struggle because they're doing all these long distance races, and they have to keep like their temperatures up and all. Like they have to be more focused than like a short track. Like on the short track, they do 25 laps. That's it. Then you go home. With like NASCAR and stuff like that I think Danica struggled with because she, doing 500-mile races, doing 300 miles, nonstop action. Same thing with when she ran IndyCar. She ran long-ass races, and it just tired her out. That's my opinion on it. That's why I think we see females struggle in the top series because I think they get tired a lot quicker. I'm not trying to bash anyone. I just feel like that's what they get a lot tired than. Like, they get tired quicker than the men do.
Especially in the open wheel side because it's so much more physically demanding and it is tough. And we have seen people come up to the ranks, and when they get to that, and after blistering all the lower levels of racing they competed in, once they get to the top, I guess it's a little bit tough. And Brian, I'll close that discussion with you. I understand that you've got some female racing blood who may be itching to get behind the wheel of a car someday. Is that something that you could see happening?
Did you call Brian a girl?
No.
You said that he had.
Wait, I thought that's where he was going, and then I was like, Brian's
you
sister.
said that he had female racing blood.
I got to see Brian's sister at dinner, and I said, "Would you ever want to race yourself?" And she gave me that smirk, like maybe she's got something up her sleeve to make it happen. So
did she shrug at you too?
No, she speaks, and so is Brian. So go ahead, Brian. Give me something, anything.
I have no idea.
That is good enough. That is more than what a little bit of backstory. So Brian was running exceptionally well at Turkey Derby, and we'll get into that a little bit more later.
Not going there.
If you purchased your copy of the Wall Stadium DVD from Friday, you could hear a little bit of an oopsie. So Jeff Gravatt came upstairs. He said, "What am I going to ask this kid if he wins?" And I said, "Oh, I'm friends with him. I'll go down and interview him if he pulls it off." So I might have jinxed you, Brian.
You did.
But
he jinxed himself.
You did.
Yeah.
No.
But everyone. Like, Jeff has been panicking over what to say to you because he's afraid that you're not going to be receptive to victory lane. I was like, listen, if this kid wins, he will be as loud as anybody that you will ever see.
On
and now
Sunday, he's standing in front of his car, and he's prepping himself on what he's going to say if he wins the race.
Yourself
Yes, you are. It was me and your sister. I remember. And he's going, I'm going to think this person and this person and this person. I stopped him. I said, listen, you have to win the race first.
You need to win first, buddy.
Stop focusing on what you're going to say.
Why don't I remember this?
Because you were freaking out.
Because you choked.
Because you're starting on the pole, and that's all you thought about.
Yeah.
I thought Hannah would be a life coach.
I'm a girl.
Brian, they knew you were there, and you're going to be coming back for a vengeance in 2018. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yay.
Hopefully.
We're going to talk a lot more about that when we get to the local stuff.
We are, but I want to keep the open wheel theme because there is another story that broke. And Josh, you mentioned Formula E, and now it appears that something has happened, which kind of hurts them a little bit. And it's not the first time it's happened. And there's an article on motorsport.com by Scott Mitchell who points out that Formula E's best possible characteristic that separates them from any other form of racing series is also probably the one thing that they're going to have to deal with for quite some time. The 2017 and 18 Formula E season was scheduled to wrap up in Montreal with a doubleheader. And all of a sudden, that section of the Canadian government decided, well, we don't want to do that anymore, and they scrapped the weekend. This has happened more than once for Formula E, and now they're kind of in a little bit of a panic mode because are they just going to shorten the season? Can they find a venue to kind of fill that void?
The park, right?
So usually that's where they run. The same track that the Formula One circuit runs on and the Xfinity Series ran on for a couple of years.
So narrow.
Yeah, well, but it turned out to be a good track.
But they
for the
have
stock cars and the open
fenders.
wheel cars. So
They have mud flaps.
Okay.
But nevertheless, Formula E has become a series where they could basically build a track anywhere on the streets of any major city and make it work. And it's a concept that has been interesting to find. And we've seen it before. And, Formula One has a couple of street races. IndyCar and kart back in the day had a bunch of street races. Without the political backlash, they put on pretty good racing on some pretty tight and narrow and just pop-up tracks, if you want to call them. And it got me to think a little bit. Being that NASCAR is now in a little bit of a shift where they're trying out a couple different things. They're going to try out the Roval at Charlotte, which is the hybrid of the oval and the road course that was just built. I'm curious, especially with you guys being all stock car guys, could you ever see NASCAR trying to pull off a street race in a major market city? Maybe even New York. I mean, if you can get a street circuit in Brooklyn and have Formula E run and nobody notice, then you could probably be able to pull off having a big league stock car race.
Well, no one would notice because they can't hear the cars going by.
So
I feel like it'd just be way too loud to have like a NASCAR race in the middle of a city.
Yeah, it would echo off the buildings.
Yeah, no, that'd be crazy.
I think that
it'd be cool, but it'd be crazy.
Through Times Square.
They certainly have the money. They have the means. I think it's absolutely possible and conceivable. The problem is the typical NASCAR fan is going to, who is, the ones that say, oh, yeah, the points were better back in the old days. The stage racing is
Real racing is Talladega.
Yeah. Where if it's not Bristol, Martinsville, Talladega, or Daytona, it's not real. The ones that hate road courses and stuff like that, they're gonna have the same obnoxious, self-righteous backlash against street circuits.
I don't know about you guys, but I love a road course.
I think
what division it is. I wish every race was a road course.
I agree, but I'm saying that I think NASCAR could do it. I think it would actually be a really good thing to see. And actually make it available to other areas. Like, if you did it in New York, so people don't have to travel to Watkins Glen. I mean, keep Watkins Glen. I love it. But if you were trying to bring in newer people, maybe it would be a good idea. But you're going to have this terrible backlash. People like, oh, I'm not going to watch that because, I don't know, they're snowflakes because they did it on the street or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're still going to watch.
Something
Just bring
ridiculous.
NASCAR to Monaco.
No.
That would be a really tight race.
So now let's look at it from two different perspectives. Now Formula E runs these street races, and I think they put on a pretty good show. And I don't know whether that's a product of the formula that they have between car, the way that the motor works, and driver ability. But so how about from a racing perspective? Would a NASCAR street race be something that would be entertaining, or would it make it a must-watch event for you? As somebody who didn't watch the vast majority of the races, as what I used to make it a religious purpose to watch all the Cup races, and as I got a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and realized there's more to life than sitting in front of a television screen, I started spending my Sundays doing something a little bit more productive, like drinking a lot.
Or
so
Pornhub.
No, not that productive, but I kid because I care. Now, for everybody in the room, would that be something that you guys say, "Wow, I got to see that. I got to see how that turns out." Or is it just not enough to move the needle for you?
What if we bring NASCAR to Bathurst?
I think it'd be cool to watch.
That's not a street circus, though.
Yeah, it is.
It's a road course.
I'm looking up street circuits right now, and Bathurst is underneath it.
It's called on the side of a mountain, so.
Well,
that'd be scary. No, I wouldn't like.
Fine,
that.
we'll bring them to the Nürburgring.
I think they fall off the
Make
side
them run
of the mountain.
17 miles.
All right,
They'd be Ryan Blaney because everything bad happens to him.
It's not like that type of mountain. There's walls.
All right. To go with your more traditional style street circuit, like whether it was kart back in Las
I said
Vegas,
Monaco. I
or
would like to see him at Monaco.
or Monaco even.
I don't know any of these.
I would watch it at the very least for the novelty of the
It being
of the
something
first
new.
time.
Yeah.
But I'd be afraid that if the course is too narrow, you're not going to see enough action.
Bring him
I
to
think
the
it'd be single
Isles.
file the entire time and just
Yeah.
get pointless after a while.
Bring him to the
That would
Isles
be my
of Man.
fear.
Yeah.
The
See,
Isles
I
of
would
Man.
like to see them try it once. And if they didn't just add the second oval race in Vegas, I would say please do it in Vegas. And even if you do it as
That
an
would be
exhibition,
cool.
Second
That would be
yeah.
cool. In
Oh,
Vegas.
forgot about
make
that.
a big party out of it. And then, because that's the thing.
Go to
We're
that.
trying to attract a younger fan base. Now, granted, we're all relatively young. Josh will include you in this as well. We're all relatively young. We all kind of get it. But if you want to try to reel in a younger fan base a little bit, maybe a street race and turning it to a little bit of a hybrid race and festival type thing, and have like a DJ at one spot with a concert going on, have a bunch of inflatable stuff, like just
What is
turn
this,
it
a
into
rave?
a big gigantic block party.
We'll get strobe
NASCAR rave,
lights,
bro.
and-
Yeah, fist pump all the way.
just
Like,
just do something different and
I
try
agree.
to lure people in. And a street race in the perfect market at the perfect venue with the right little side pieces in order to make it all happen, I think is something worth trying, even for an exhibition. That because going to Japan isn't going to help like they did in the late '90s. So you might as well try something a little bit different here. And since Formula E's been able to pull it off, and they got the crowd control, granted, you might get more people for a NASCAR street race in Brooklyn than you would for Formula E.
Yep, you got to
But-
watch out because Formula E will appeal to your demographic there of hipsters, whereas NASCAR is, I don't know. You got to.
Dylan Hurt.
That's the thing, though. I don't even know who NASCAR is really appealing to anymore. And
Rednecks.
that's not. Well,
Hey, that's
I think
a
that's.
bad word.
I think it's you're kind of it's a changing of the tide in a way. Make your Ricky Rudd jokes here if you want.
I mean, we don't see douche fluters at
my God.
NASCAR like we do at like Formula Drift at Wall. Like, you know what I mean?
What did you call them?
douche fluters.
Douche fluters.
Are we allowed to say that?
I can say whatever
Yes.
I want. I'm from Waretown now.
I live in the 609.
The Formula Drift crowd is very interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
there's a cloud
Yeah, very
constantly
interesting.
over like the stadium, and it's
Is
not.
it
worked
tire
for the
smoke
past
or is
couple
it
years.
vaping?
They're douche fluters. That's what they are. I'm
They're
telling
vaping.
you, it's their vape pens. It's not even.
Oh my
they don't
God.
drift. They drift and they don't even put smoke.
Oh.
It's just their vape pens.
Okay, all right, moving on.
Sorry,
Please.
I hate drifting.
I just remember hearing a story about a fan that was at one of the Formula Drift events. So they found her kind of scoping around the back of where they sell the ice cream during the regular season at Wall. And they said, "Excuse me, ma'am, what are you doing?" And I guess her pupils were all dilated. And she said, "I'm trying to find my leprechaun." And that's
Well, you came to the right
that's-
place. Wall
that's all
Stadium.
you need to know.
Find Neil
Yeah.
Rutt.
Some apricot
Find
looking
Neil Rutt
ones around
Jr.
there.
So, NASCAR stuff aside, in terms of what we would like to see happen down the road, let's talk about some things that did in fact happen. First, I want to talk about the move that Casey Kane made to Levine Family Racing, a move that we knew that was going to happen. But Neil, they just released their livery for at least Daytona 500,
Is that how you
new
say
number
it?
style
I
for
thought it
that
was
car,
livery.
livery.
It's pretty.
Paint scheme, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Man, that thing looks hot. I want to know what Sam would think, because Sam's really into this stuff,
See-
and he follows it to the T.
I like it, but I don't like the number.
You don't like
The-
Lightning McQueen?
No, I mean like the
It's the
design.
style of it.
Yeah,
It honestly looks
it's
awkward.
too thin. It's too thin
We,
and too
we've
small.
we've come down to talking about the font of the numbers.
It doesn't.
Yes.
Okay, so but it's
Yeah,
all
I mean-
about appeal though. Like
yeah, like
when
that's
a
not gonna
kid's
get
in
my
the, they're not
interest.
going to care about who's driving the car. It's gonna be like,
Well,
oh,
it's Casey
Dad, that
Kane, they're not
car
gonna
looks
care
cool.
anyway.
I'm gonna like that car now, and then
Actually,
it sticks with them.
Hannah has a very good point because as a little kid, if before you can get to know the driver, I remember
Bryce
when
is gonna
I was.
go. I like that car because it's that color.
Yeah, no, you're
And
you're
then that's
right.
what he's
You're
gonna
right.
stick with.
And it gives you something to go
That's
for.
why I like
yeah.
Tony Stewart.
Okay, no, you do have a point.
Thank you.
I just. I don't know that the font matters. That I don't.
No, I don't
It
think,
doesn't to
no,
us
I don't
at
think,
all.
Yeah, I don't think the font matters.
Where's Sam?
I just think it's ugly. Like the car looks awesome.
No, the car is sick. I'm
The-
looking at it right
like,
now.
It's
but-
yeah.
All right, we'll share that up on the
It's
Facebook
too
page.
boxy.
So feel free to
if
take a
that's
look.
a right word. And the ride heights are like slammed to the ground.
So
That's
how are we
illegal.
expecting him to do in 2018?
Trash. Just
I
like
don't
he did in
know.
the 5 car. Trash.
See, here's the problem.
I think
and-
Casey Kane had a lot of bad luck throughout his career.
He
He
did.
is trash.
I mean, let's
Give
call
him
a
the
spade a
benefit of the
spade.
doubt.
Hendrick Motorsports is not what it was 7 years ago. I mean, really, the only team that was successful was the 48, and a lot of that they found just at the right time. Like whenever he needed a win to get into the playoffs, he got it done. Then he would fall off, and then when he needed another win again, he would find one. Chase Elliott really didn't start coming on strong until the latter portion of the year in 2017. Before that, I think Johnson's team was the only one that has gone to victory lane prior to Kane winning the Brickyard in the last 2.5 years before that.
Eric, do you think that the Chase's issue was more mental, or more an issue of the equipment?
Yes, and I think him standing up for himself against Hamlin. Here's what's funny, and I didn't draw this parallel, and I'm probably going to get some flack from you guys for it, but if you remember back to, I think it was 2010, when Joey Logano wasn't living up to expectations, he had that one win with Gibbs in the rain-shortened event in New Hampshire in 2009. Then we get to 2010, June race at Pocono, and him and Kevin Harvick get into it. And that was the first time that we saw Logano stand up for himself. And he, threw the water bottle at Harvick. I think Logano's dad got involved and all that stuff. But
That's funny.
Yeah, from that point forward, Logano's results got better because it seems like that the rest of the field was like, oh, maybe we start taking this guy a little bit seriously. Maybe we can't push around like we could. And I feel like that Chase's incident at Martinsville has now done the same thing for him. I wouldn't be surprised if at this point forward, now that he's kind of shown he's got a backbone and he doesn't like losing or getting wrecked as much as we thought he did because he was always so content with it, that he will start running a lot better, and he will probably be the guy to carry the banner for Hendrick Motorsports now, in my opinion. So, but hopefully, Josh, to answer your question, that mental hurdle is now gone, and it's more of a chip on his shoulder, and it'll prove for better results once we kick off 2018.
Okay. All right.
Let's hope.
And the other problem that they got is, so now the Levine Family Racing, I believe they had some sort of an alliance or an affiliation with RCR, which now it seems like everybody has with RCR. Richard Petty Motorsports with Darrell Wallace Jr., who, if you want to see a nice paint scheme, they just rolled out their Air Force colors for next year for 2 races, including Daytona in July. That car looks dope. New Chevy. Yeah, it's gorgeous. But they got an alliance with RCR. So here's the thing. We have all these Chevrolet satellite teams that are leaning on a 2 or 3 car organization that has not run that well to begin with. How well are they really going to run? It's like it seems like there's too many hands in the cookie jar here, and nobody's going to be able to grab what they need or grab what they want to be successful. So I'm skeptical about how that 95 team will run.
That car does look pretty sick. With the lightning bolts going down the side.
Oh, I love it. And
He's
speaking of
looking
car
at Lightning
design,
McQueen.
Brian, I feel like you've been quiet
That's
for too
right.
long, so I might as well ask you this now. We're all kind of, supporting your colors, which if you can't see from my screen, it's the pink and black.
It
livery.
got hot. I took mine off.
Brian,
I
where
got
did that
banging
come
iced
from?
tea, though.
Was the idea to just appeal to the ladies in the crowd? Like,
No,
what was
no.
behind the motivation of the pink numbers?
Well, it was actually, I didn't know if I should do blue or pink, and I just favored pink more than I liked blue, so I just went with black and pink.
Really?
He's lying to you.
Yes.
It was for the ladies.
No, it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Because I
Maybe.
remember
You're supposed to say yes.
Yes, it was.
You
Get
know-
all the old ladies to follow you.
because Casey Robichaud used to have the pink and black legend car, and then it just seemed like that at the time that her racing career at Wall, or at least for now, kind of wind down a little bit. You came on the scene, and I always thought that car and that color combination really did appeal to a lot of the young kids, particularly a lot of the girls who were coming to the track, and not just girls that you could kind of impress with your driving abilities, but even the little kids. They were always infatuated by the pink colors on the car, and I thought maybe you were trying to take that over because it's not a bad idea. Although I'm curious what the blue would look like. I'm very curious.
Was
Yeah,
it
do you have-
neon blue, or was it like
Or
just
was it
a...
like my blue? Where the heck is my mic at?
Sorry.
There it is.
Sorry.
I have no idea. It was going to be more like your blue.
My blue is beautiful.
Okay, like a baby. Yeah,
But
anyway.
pink's better.
Grabber.
Okay. I'm
One
sorry.
last bit of NASCAR news, and this is more on the TMZ side of things.
Oh, I'm so sad.
It sounds like that the lovely relationship that was known of Ricky
That's funny.
Stenhouse
Sucks for
Jr.
them.
and Danica Patrick has now come to an end.
That's saddening. No, it's sad. That's like mom and dad of NASCAR.
No, it's not. She wears the freaking pants. I was gonna say that
5
word, but I
years.
couldn't.
You got 5 years.
5 years of hurting them.
My issue was when they announced it. The
They
piece
made
that I
Ricky
saw
sound like
was they've announced the end of their or that their relationship has ended. They asked for privacy at this time.
And then they put
Wait,
it out
you
there.
announced it, but you're asking for. I mean,
Yeah. It's almost like an oxymoron. I mean, it's, you know what? I'm a storyline guy. It was a
They're
good
not
story.
arrested.
But now that Danica's not around anymore, it wasn't going to be a story anymore anyway.
Wait.
You know,
no,
so
I
it's,
know why it happened. Because
He would've proposed
no,
or
because
something.
because Stenhouse won a race,
That's,
and he's like, all right, no, I'm doing too well. I got to
Hold on.
drop you.
if
Oh my god, that's so
like
mean.
if he's like wants to find another woman, he could just go to Jennifer Jo Cobb. She sucks too. Like he'll be perfectly fine. Just go to Jennifer. You
Oh
know?
my
Yeah.
god.
It's funny because I saw that one of those parody Twitter accounts,
It's funny
Drunken
'cause
Brian
it's-
France. He said after this news came down, remember Ricky got 2 wins on the Cup season this year, and he wrote, "I just want to congratulate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on grabbing his 3rd win of the year."
That's
in
so
terms,
mad. Oh my god. People are so mean.
but nevertheless,
That is
we
awesome.
wish them both the best. Especially
I
it's the
know.
holidays, and it's hard when that stuff happens around this time of year. But Ricky will be back, guaranteed.
Who's gonna get
Danica's
the dogs? They have dogs.
Yeah, right?
That's all I care about.
Poor
is the dogs.
dogs.
All right, moving on from that.
Those killed.
I just wanted. There was one thing that this came up. There's a Facebook group that I guess I'm in or whatever. We posted it. It's called the Love for NASCAR or something like that. And somebody posted some clip of Chester Bennington. Was it the Lincoln Park idiot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
I start crying.
Okay, and they said like, oh, imagine if he had done the starting or sung the national anthem for a NASCAR race or something like that. And the thing is, he overdosed, right?
No.
No.
He
Or,
hung himself.
or he hung himself. But they also found a
That's
bunch
even
of drugs
worse.
in his system. That's what it was. And when
Oh,
they did the
gosh.
autopsy. Okay, now aside from Lincoln Park just sucking, anyway.
I don't even know what that
Um,
is. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Anyway.
Hurt right
People
now.
are so upset about it.
Don't
And
blame me,
NASCAR fans, oddly enough, are upset, and but they hate on Jeremy Mayfield because he did drugs and was booted from NASCAR. But you totally wanted this this
Drug
other
addict.
druggy to be involved with
national
NASCAR. It's
anthem.
what a double standard, and it just ticked me off. So I don't know.
Two-faced people.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why there's a double standard for that, and it just ticked me off, and I
Because
wanted
it's
to.
2017. And
I don't. We want what we want.
I
Whoa,
will.
Just gotta take it out.
I will make one comment on that. And I don't mean to get all Dr. Phil on everybody, but 2 things. One, the problem with Jeremy Mayfield is that he lied. He lied through his teeth about not stealing from the Red Bull race shop and then subsequently getting caught with the stuff and the drug paraphernalia after he fought with his lawyer to say that he never tested positive for anything. So I think that's where Jeremy gets the sleight of hand.
No,
taken away from him.
I'm fine with people being mad at him about that. I don't care about that. My problem is if you're going to be mad at him, why are you totally okay and want a now dead drug addict to be singing your
Our
national anthem
spokesman.
or giving the command to start engines?
Well, with that, I will give you a piece of advice that I got from a friend of mine.
Oh no.
Do not define somebody by their worst moment. And I will leave you with that. So, with that, we're going to take a break. So, when we
Wow,
come back.
that's a good way to end it.
We're
So-
gonna take a break.
I'm gonna take a break before someone does something else. Oh,
Break
wait,
me off a
sorry.
piece of that Kit Kat
Oh
bar.
God. All right,
When we
end
come
this,
back
please.
to the RPM podcast, we're going to pick Brian O'Shea's brand a little bit more because he needs to talk. We want to hear about his racing career. What exactly did happen at Turkey Derby? Yes, Brian, we're going to go there. And also, we'll tell you a whole bunch more. And Christmas is right around the corner, so we all got a bunch of things that we're wishing for, easy for me to say, on the racing side, and we will tell you that. And I'm sure that Neil will come up with a bunch of wisecracks and jokes to continue out, just as he
was
did for
gonna say
Halloween.
Crappy jokes.
No,
You
no,
wouldn't be
because they're never
wrong.
crappy. You crack me up, and I can't wait for it. All that more. We come back to the RPM podcast with Josh, Neil, Brian, and Hannah. Don't go anywhere.
Quiet. I've got some bad news, folks.
You're listening to the RPM podcast.
There's nothing I can do.
Welcome back to the RPM podcast. Sorry, Josh, I missed my cue. Josh Matthews, Neil Rutt III, Bryan O'Shea, Hannah DiMartino, and I'm Eric Brennan. Our buddy Sam Ballard Jr. is down in Daytona with the World Karting Association, prepping up for Daytona Kart Week, which kicks off on December 27th, where they will have their year-end awards banquet, and then, of course, all the racing action that will be taking place on the infield of the back straightaway at Daytona International Speedway. For more information, you can visit the World Karting Association's media site, or you can also visit ekartingnews.com. Also, good time to remind you to stop by and check out the rpmpodcast.com, the official website of... I'm being distracted. What in the world is going on?
Hannah's looking at your underpants.
Snapchat.
We just saw your wieners.
He has wiener dogs on his underwear. That's why I'm laughing.
With Santa hats. They have Santa hats.
They do, and they have sweaters on. They're actually kind of cute, Eric. But continue.
So that's more incentive to go to the rpmpodcast.com. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Hannah was actually the first one to email us on there, so thank you, Hannah. That's why you're here, because we love you and you're awesome.
We're supposed to email.
So.
Well, I was angry that I wasn't on it. So I was like, excuse me, why am I not on this? But then I was like, I'm proud of y'all. So.
If you come around a little bit more and you're a rock star like you've been tonight, then we'll make it happen.
Thanks.
He did an awesome job on that, too.
No, yeah, no, he really did.
Like, I like it a lot.
It works so smoothly. I'm surprised. I'm very proud.
It's bookmarked on my phone. I couldn't say bookmark for a second.
It was all
I was struggling so hard right there.
Sam's a genius.
Again, Josh is the bells and whistles. Sam is the creative genius, and I'm just the piano player. So,
and Neil, up whenever I want.
Yeah, Neil rolls in, makes fun of the world, makes me laugh hysterically, and then he just rolls out and he's done. It's great.
All right, piano man, sing us a song.
So I'm going to, after I talk to Bryan O'Shea first. So, Bryan, you're here. I try to tell the world that you actually do speak, so I want to have a conversation with you, and we're going to have a few hundred people listening to you when we talk about it. So hopefully you're cool with that.
Yeah, why would you say that?
We have 5 people listening to us, okay?
At this point, yes.
At this point.
Our numbers are on the up and up. So they'll eventually hear you. But before we do that, I just want everybody to know, I had the opportunity to meet Bryan probably about 3 years ago when the factory stock crew got together and did their karting venture down at Millville. Josh was kind enough to invite me to it. And at the time, Bryan wasn't racing at Wall yet. And, of course, Tim, his dad, was there. And there was this one quiet dude who didn't say anything to anybody.
Had long hair.
Yet he was like top 3 on the the scoring charts like the entire time, and he could no advice was needed, no advice was given. He was just fast. And then of course I go to pole position with now RPM Raceway with Bryan and Neil.
You sucked.
And I was dreadful. And Bryan is still just incredibly quick the whole time. And Neil and Bryan were trading quick times and whatnot.
I dominated that first one.
Bryan, this was your first full season at a factory stock at Wall Stadium Speedway. And I got to say that you impressed from the get-go. And I'm not saying this because I'm biased. I'm saying it because it's true. And that outright sensation of speed, or seeing that car be able to compete with the guys who collected the vast majority of the wins this season, really began to show itself at Turkey Derby. So I'm curious of, how good did that feel? Regardless of where the final results showed where you ended up, to finally have something good to start with when you rolled out on the track for the heat. Do you finally have that confidence that you need, that you feel like you can compete each and every week? Or do you feel like the learning curve is behind you and now you can just go and start racking up the positive results?
I don't know.
I think that was too much at once. You overloaded him a little bit.
Okay, how about this?
All right.
Summarize your 2017 season for me, and not in one word.
And,
as many words
more
as you
than
want.
5 words, please.
I learned a lot from my mistakes and other people's mistakes.
What just happened?
You broke it.
Josh's decor is falling down.
We were talking about Chester Bennington. I'm sorry, I had to. All right, let's put this back. Keep talking, Bryan. You're getting good here.
I'm done.
Let Neil fix these lights here.
So now, Bryan, did you always want to race, or is this something that your dad just put you up to, and you happen to fall in love with it?
I did want to, but I was nervous, so I just kept waiting and waiting. And then this season, I got out there by myself when I was just able to do my own thing and not have to worry what's around me. and then I was good.
See, now what's cool is when I had a chance to talk to Tim right up to Turkey Derby. It might have been Turkey Derby practice. He told me a story about how when you were a kid, he did what a lot of dads do. You kind of sit your child on your lap a little bit and you let him get the feel of the steering wheel. And then when you're old enough to reach the pedals, maybe he'll let you drive it around the parking lot a little bit. And he said the one thing that and he may not have even told you this story. So, but the one thing that amazed him that he actually felt instantaneously that what you're doing behind the wheel of a car. He said you might have been like 13 or 14 years old. He gave you an opportunity to drive across the parking lot somewhere, and he didn't have to tell you to stop and turn around and come back. You just kind of did it on your own.
I would have drove
and
the fence.
And it was I would have too. And it was like you were doing it forever. Do you feel like your transition to race cars has been just as seamless? Like, is it constant? Like, are you always just so comfortable when you're in that race seat? Is it like second nature to you?
Yeah, I just love driving with anything. It just comes natural.
I'm gonna give
And it
you
shows
a
that
Prius.
way.
You tell me if you were happy driving then, okay?
So now Turkey Derby rolls along, and you're just fast right out the gate. I mean, and obviously things didn't end the way that they wanted to. Without getting too heavily involved or too heavily invested in the weekend itself, with that being your last time in a car for 2017 professionally, are you excited for? Granted, we don't exactly know what's going to happen in 2018 just yet, but if there is in fact a Wall State Speedway and you're going to be in the factory stock ranks, how high is your confidence level? Even though things didn't end the way you wanted to, knowing that you were able to compete with those guys with ease, are you pumped for 2018 to get here already?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That wasn't
Are you
very
doing?
Yes.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
Are you looking forward to 2018 if
If
there's racing?
A season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you excited? There you go.
I'm excited, and I don't
helped-
even get behind the seat of
I
a
helped
car.
you out.
thanks, Dad.
Like Saturdays aren't the same.
Now, do you? I'm trying to figure out how to word this properly. I mean, do you feel confident that you have a shot? I mean, assuming you're running for the points championship, that you're in a good place to be competitive and maybe take a
Yeah.
good run at that. You think you got the car figured out and where you're gonna go?
Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know.
Poor Bryan. He was all gun shy about coming on the show, and then we finally got him here. We're torturing him with questions. It's like a
Yes.
Comedy Central roast. I feel so bad. So I'll move on from there. Actually, I'm not. You know what? Josh had his
Keep
great
going.
idea.
Keep going. Let's go.
He had a great idea. He said, "Why don't we all talk about our Christmas racing wish list?" So we're going through this
Actually,
now because 5 of us may take.
If
But-
I can interrupt that for just a minute, there's one thing that I had on the list, and we didn't get to talk about it. There was a kart race that was happening, and with Sam being in Daytona, running or working for the WKA and their big whole set of races this weekend or week, whatever it is. Rubens Barrichello and Felipe Massa were both in a karting race. Very recently, one of Massa's teammates was involved in an incident. Did any of you guys happen to see that video?
No, I want to see it, though.
I did because you sent it to me.
I believe it is on our Facebook page. If you want to check it out there, I believe
It is.
That's where I saw it. So thank you, Josh, for sharing that for everybody.
Saw it.
Now, I don't know. It was interesting. Looked like a couple carts got together, were driven up into the tire barrier, and obviously they were not happy with each other. The cart that, whether you want to blame it was the cart behind as causing the incident or not, he was certainly a little bit faster. I think she's looking at it
he's
now.
wailing.
And
That's just the picture. I haven't even got to the video yet.
and it got violent very quickly as they got
Oh
out of the
my
carts.
God, I don't
A
wanna
lot of kart
give
races
card to
get like
Walmart.
that. I see all the time. Like you go on like YouTube and you just type in like racing fights. They're all kart videos.
Well, it's much easier to get out of the cart and then attack the other person, it
Yeah,
seems.
true. And then you
But-
burn your elbow trying to get out.
But literally began punching him. It threw the guy to the ground, was punching his helmet, which I'm not sure if that really does much of anything.
And no, it's probably going to break your
And
hand.
then appeared to try to strangle the other guy as well while they're on the ground.
Right.
And I wasn't Eric. Do you have any thought or opinion on that incident?
I love a good fight at a racetrack. I'm going to come out and say it because it's entertaining. This was stupid. I mean, even the John West Townley, Spencer Gallagher thing was
the
better than this.
WWE fight thing that was?
He just climbed on top of him and just started throwing, just like Hannah said, he was wailing on him. And I mean,
I haven't got to see it because it keeps offering me $100 gift card in Walmart.
yeah, you'll see it, and it's bad. I mean, it's
Amazon.
It wasn't. It almost got to a point where it's disturbing. And my question is, how did nobody break this up? I mean, it went on for what seemed like a solid minute. I mean, in racing, where there's corner marshals and people everywhere,
Yeah, what are they doing? Where are they
happen
going?
that long.
Well, I'll say this: if I was a corner worker, I would not want to be running out onto the track and risk getting hit. If it's just a local yellow and they're still at speed, I don't want to be. I don't want to risk breaking my legs over two other idiots fighting. And
well, true. But at that point, it should also be the rate. And granted, this did happen overseas, down south. So,
see, if he was a real man, he would have picked up the cart and threw it at the guy. They're not that heavy.
They do not care that
manhandle
all
that
these
thing
cars
and
are
just throw it.
driving on this track as they're rolling in the middle of it. What are they doing?
That was going to be my next point, Hannah, is, they should have stopped the race because these guys were obviously
the guy that was in the wrong in this, that drove into the other guy that sent them both into the wall, is the first one to get up and start punching. It was technically your fault, my friend. I don't know why you're throwing hands.
I'm not going to go into that end of it. But, I mean, Eric, do you think that this fight went a little too far when he's, holding the guy down and, trying to strangle him? I mean, it's beyond fisticuffs at that point.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, guy's a bonehead because he's throwing hands against the helmet that is designed to withstand impacts, while going at 100 miles an hour. I mean, it's not the smartest thing to do, but it got to a point where I felt uncomfortable watching the end of it.
I didn't know if they were going to start taking their fire suits off and water was going to come around and start.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm on fire.
I mean, any fight at a racetrack, a good little tussle for a couple minutes, get the crowd riled up, get everybody into it, that's fine. But once, it's almost like hockey. You can let them beat each other up a little bit, and then when they start using their sticks and their skates as weapons, you got to break it up a little bit. And there was nobody there to kind of separate these two, and it did. It got a little bit uncomfortable. And considering that karting is considered something of class, and I mean, all those forms of foreign racing, ventures usually are. I'm interested to see if there's any sort of punishment on this, and if there is, if it'll be publicized, because I'm not sure if we'll be able to get that information that easily.
They're going to put a halo on the cart so the guys can't get out as quick.
Rub it in, Neil. Rub it in.
I had to.
Okay, I agree with that. Interesting note on that race. Rubens Barrichello went on to win. So that's for Nick Rendo right there is why I brought that up, Just a little fun.
Ferrari love all day.
Is he on the milk carton again?
Yeah. He's definitely on the milk carton.
And then Rubens Barrichello, interesting. Here's my 5-year-old humor. His son, the nickname is Doo-Doo.
Doo-Doo.
So I don't know why. I just felt like being a child. I thought it was funny. I couldn't help it.
Josh likes the word doo-doo.
No, he uses fudge.
Fudge.
That's true. You a fudge packer?
Yeah. I do not work in a chocolate factory. Okay, Eric, on to what you were about before. Yes, with the holiday.
Before I get into that, I do want to say one thing. All the thanks in the world belongs to Kevin Ayers and everybody at the Matheny School. I got to attend the Matheny Christmas party for the first time. They've been doing it for, I believe, 43 years is the number.
Wow.
It looks so nice.
And it was absolutely amazing. In a bit of tragic irony, Chuck Matheny, who was one of the gentlemen behind the school and getting everything together and designing an outlet for basically they're basically orphans who are of special needs, to have a place to go and call home and have something to look forward to like this Christmas party. Chuck passed away over the last few weeks, so we actually did this whole event basically in his honor and in his memory. For me, I got paired up with this wonderful girl named Natalie, and she was a blast from the get-go. And it was a lot of people told me and they warned me it's a life-changing experience, and my God, it was. I mean, it's if you're ever questioning what the meaning of Christmas really is about, get involved in something like that, and it'll change your entire perspective. It's not about the presence, the amount of money, or it really is about being there for people who need it or being with your family. And if you don't have family, then you make your own with your friends and everything you have to do. It's about the people, and everyone involved in that Matheny Christmas party are amazing from top to bottom. And Wall Stadium Speedway was well represented. Joe McFarland from 3 Wide was there. He actually helped me out. I could give you the list of names of people who were there, but it's so long that it would take up the rest of the show. Yeah, Hearn was. I mean, Wall. You know,
I'm kind of jealous. I wanted to go.
It's well, and that's something that Kevin Ayers said to me, and I'll pass this along to not only you guys in the studio, but also all of our listeners. Kevin said that we carried this on for as long as we have, and it's getting to a point where we want to start to, you know, he's not going to obviously step down or anything like that, but they want to pass the torch a little bit. And I was one of 3 rookies that they had there. They call it Rookie of the Year. It was me, Mike Montano Jr., and Matt Malachaka, also all races at Wall. And they would like to see this influx of young blood come in and take an invested interest in this event to ensure that it will continue to go on, even as the guard changes. And that's something which I hope we're able to do in the years to come. So December 15th, 2018 is when the next date is for the Matheny Christmas party. And I will tell you right now that I will be there, and I hope that the rest of you will as well. It's amazing. And thank you to Kevin and everybody there for making it what it is, because that's what it's all about. With that, I just had to get that in there. Also, leading up next, I spoke to Kevin. Kevin does listen to us, and he said that, you know, when we get closer to it next year, he'd love to come on and tell us a little bit more about the school and the program and everything that they do for it. And I'm looking forward to that as well. And thank you for the support. I feel like a politician sometimes. So with that, Josh, you had this great idea. Holiday season, last show of the year potentially. And I say potentially because we never know what we're going to do. We may be sitting around bored before I fly out to Daytona. While I'm even in Daytona, we put something together. But a lot of us have certain things we want for Christmas. And when it comes to racing, whether it be new helmet, new shoes, do whatever, you know, we all got our own little wish list. So we might as well kind of rattle off a couple of things that we would all like to see. And I talked enough. So, Bryan, you have to have a few things that you're wishing for 2018.
I have to go first.
Yes.
Yes.
The quiet one.
I just want a new car because I destroyed mine.
Oh, we know.
You can't fix it.
3.
Nope.
It's fixable.
All right. So now, what about a win, a championship? You know, maybe finishing 1-2 with your dad. I mean, it's like, is there anything extreme that you would want?
Why'd everyone laugh?
A few wins would be awesome, and even a championship.
So I'll put that all on your wish list there.
Yeah. Well, I think he wants to, you know, aim low. That way he doesn't get disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it seems like. Anything else? No.
Just some milk.
He's like,
some milk.
Oh my god.
To not have to answer any more questions on the
Yes.
podcast.
Yes,
Bryan
please.
is a simple man.
But it's so funny because he wants to come on all the time, and then he gets here and he's like,
I made him come this time.
It's
he just
scary.
looks
No, I
around.
didn't make him come. But I
look-
told him if I came, he'd have to come.
It's like good, but once like you start recording
Josh,
on the camera,
stop.
like,
He's fine. As soon as the camera comes on, it's just like bam.
yeah, and as
Yeah.
soon as you say
It's
there's
like,
200
it's
people
like turn
watching,
down, like boom.
Hannah, your wish list.
Okay, well, I don't have a race car, so that'd be first on my wish list. But like for my dad to have like a nice, good season would be great.
Okay.
So at least I go win, and more than like a heat win, like an actual like solid first, or like a top 5 would be good too.
Okay.
And if I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but is Roland's plan to come back in the Sportsman next year?
We have a potential new sponsor, so yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Hopefully.
Okay. All right.
It'll be purple.
Neil?
What?
You're still scrolling through Safe Racer, I see. Eric, what's your wish list?
Mine's a little bit more broad.
It's
I mean-
broad. What is that? What you said?
No. That is not. That
Two
is not on my
broads.
racing wish list. That's on the personal wish list. That's not on the racing wish list. No, all right. So this is really generic and on a national scale. The Supercross season starts in a couple weeks, and I really hope that they have a great year. Ryan Dungey just retired last year. Ken Roxon, nearly had a career-ending injury. He's coming back. I really hope that we have a long, healthy, and entertaining Supercross season for two reasons. One, because I love it, and two, that's going to be one of our biggest talking points in the early weeks of 2018. So the more entertaining that is, the better off it is for us in our show. I also hope that the 2018 IndyCar bodywork turns out to be everything that we hope it is, and that it also doesn't neuter the oval product that we've had at Indy over the last few years.
Or Texas.
Yeah, or Texas, or Pocono. Pocono was a thriller as well. So that's a wish list of mine. I hope that the NASCAR on-track product gets better. They made minor changes to the car. So, yes, they're trying everything. They're trying some new aero packages again when they get back there. The Xfinity cars are going to keep the package they had, which increased drafting and whatnot. We'll see what happens. I, of course, hope that we have Wall Stadium Speedway open and functioning where I can continue to have the luxury of being able to work there, because that is probably one of the most exciting moments of my week is going to that racetrack. And I think that's it. Too much to ask, I guess. I don't know.
No, you can ask for one more thing.
Yeah.
So, can I?
Yeah.
More announcing.
Two broads.
Yeah.
He's two broads.
Two broads. More chances, more races to announce, which may happen. I have some things in the fire, but we'll see.
Ooh. Juicy.
Neil, have you figured out?
Why'd you click my phone case?
No, because I couldn't tell if there was. Never mind. Neil,
The phone's here.
what's your wish list? I know the phone's there.
I'd take another opportunity to run a modified.
I would like to see that.
I'd take that. Don't matter what track.
Okay.
I'd even run a modified on dirt if they had them. I'd run a dirt car too. If someone wants to give me that.
You'll take whatever you can get. Is basically what you're saying.
No, not really. No, I wouldn't take anything. Yeah, no, definitely. I'd like to have another opportunity with a modified. Touring, local, whatever.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, what I said was funny.
A new suit. My fire suit is dirty and oily. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's all rough.
I've had that thing for a long time.
Okay.
Fashion forward is Neil.
What?
If you're fashion forward, you want your suit to look good.
Okay.
I do. I want a custom suit.
Don't we all?
Powder blue, white, and
It's gotta be
black.
pink.
Yeah,
Powder blue.
It's gotta
Pink in
be.
there.
I sent Eric a long time ago what I wanted my suit to look like, and he was like in love with it.
He was
Was
lying.
Yes.
How's
No,
bragging?
no, seriously, it looked good.
It had RPM podcast on the side and everything like that.
Anything
Josh,
else?
how about you?
No, I guess
Um,
not. I got skipped.
All
so.
right, top was for Wall to be open for at least the next 5 years. I mean, really, I'd like to see it continue far, far, far
wanna
into
bring
the
my kids
future.
there.
But to
I want that track to outlive me. Okay.
Yeah, same,
Yes.
for real.
agreed. But I mean, in short or the near future terms, if we could at least get a solid, like out for 5 years, I would love to see that. I would love to get my car back together and be able to actually race again with the factory stocks. We'll see how that ends up working out. I want to have a podcast race. I want to have a
that
podcast
sounds
host
awesome.
race. Neil
Oh
and
my
I
God,
will,
let's do it. I'll be the flag girl.
Neil and I will give everyone else a half lap head start. And
I track them down, coming at you. Probably punt them all out of the way. till we get to 'em.
I might need a full lap. I will negotiate.
No,
for
you're
a full
gonna need
lap.
a full 50 laps,
Eric's like, oh, it's in reverse.
and it's a 51 lap race, and you're still gonna lose probably.
Yep.
And to have everyone back in the studio next year.
Even
So,
Nick Rendo.
Rendo!
I still have not met Nick Rendo,
Oh my God, he's great.
and I've been on the show for probably almost
He
like
might
10
be a little
episodes.
gay though. Just warning you. Stay far away.
This is the RPM
Goodness.
podcast. We don't say that stuff, okay?
Yeah, we don't say
Oh, my.
that stuff.
Okay.
He knows I love him.
No bueno.
I got a
No
Calvin
bueno.
sweatshirt.
Oh,
I'm
bueno.
gonna wear it right around him, just for him.
All right. And from there, Eric.
I don't know.
Where do we go from here?
In the event, this is the last show that we're going to do in 2017. I just want to take a moment and thank everybody who's listened to us, supported us, our sponsors all the way up until this point. Ace in the Hole Landscaping, SR Fabrications, and of course O'Shea's Auto Repair. Thank you guys so much for joining us this year. We are continuing to look for additional partnerships going forward. You can check out therpmpodcast.com, or you can email us directly if you'd like to get involved. All the feedback from fans, listeners, drivers, teams, the show is growing in numbers, it's growing in interest, and we're looking to have so many more people on with us. The Edge of Divorce Motorsports and Scott and Nancy Riggleman will be on as a pair once we kick off the new year. Ryan Flores says that he wants to be on the show, even from down North Carolina. And this format allows us the opportunity to do that.
Well,
and we also have a bunch of other people.
Eric actually figures out how to log in and stuff. I mean, it is difficult.
When it doesn't take me 3 hours, yes. So
I wasn't even supposed to be here.
Yeah,
I know. And
yeah, Neil was a surprise.
I'm thankful you are.
Guys, I'm here.
Sam Ballard Jr. is our boots on the ground in North Carolina. He's got a bunch of interest going in there, and it's really fun to watch this show progress and grow the way that it has. Considering the fact that I kind of held it back for a while for own personal reasons, and for now I'm excited for what's coming up. And 2018 is going to be a good time for the RPM podcast, and everybody, Bryan, Hannah, Neil, Josh, Nick, who's not here, Sam, who's not here. They're all possible in making this what it is, and everybody who we've had on the show beforehand, and I can't thank you all enough. What a year!
Yeah. From there, I think we're gonna go to what have we learned today.
What about motorsports?
Well, we're still in the process of finalizing all that, but it looks like we are going to be at Motorsports 2018. I believe we're looking at Saturday as our day to be there. We're going to be. The plan is to broadcast live.
Tony Stewart's going to be there.
No way.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can get Tony Stewart on. I don't know.
I'll cry.
We could probably.
I'll wear my Tony Stewart V-neck. I got one of those.
I just say smoke. Get your ass over here and let's talk.
Okay.
My grandmother will roll over in her grave.
So anyway,
them,
yes, we're looking at getting that together. We got to finalize a few things. Basically, I need to have a nice long talk with Eric Brennan and get our stuff sorted out for. Meeting and passes and whatever we got to do. Then from there, what have we learned today, Bryan?
Sorry.
You're just trying to torture him.
Hey, shout out to Joey Bailey for just Snapchatting me saying,
"Hi, Joey.
I can't wait to watch it tomorrow."
Oh,
I figured out your name out there.
Really? We know you brought him to the wedding with you and not me.
So, is that what you had to tell me?
Yep, that's exactly what I have to tell you. You don't even have to wait any longer.
Okay.
And it was on air. All right, Bryan, what'd you learn?
Nothing.
Well, this is not an educational show. Hannah, what did you learn?
I learned about the whole girl thing, about how they want to do another race. That's pretty cool. And I learned that Bryan doesn't talk at all around people he doesn't know. Mm-hmm. And I learned. Yeah. Oh, another thing on my Christmas list is to meet Ryan Blaney. Just letting you know. So, Ryan Flores, if you're listening right now.
I thought he was your boyfriend.
He's my husband.
Oh, sorry.
And you haven't met him yet?
He just doesn't know I'm
That
married.
relationship sucks.
I just got my gift in the mail, my Woods Brother sweatshirt, because he doesn't race for them anymore, but it's okay. They had free shipping. I wanted it.
History.
Neil, what have you learned?
That Eric has nice little wieners with Santa hats and sweaters on.
Folks, it's my boxers. I would gladly show the camera, but I'm afraid that it just won't go the way I want it to.
Post a picture on Facebook.
Yeah, post a picture and we'll share it.
Okay.
There's something else I learned, but I don't remember.
They're not hot dogs, they're wiener dogs.
If Ricky Stenhouse really wants to save his marriage life or relationships, he should just go to Jennifer Jo Cobb because she sucks as well.
Oh my God.
I'm done.
Eric, what did you learn today?
I'm ready to walk home.
I learned that the sole reason why Hannah doesn't think that they should ever be a NASCAR race at Bathurst is because she's afraid that Ryan Blaney could fall off the mountain.
Wait, even though there's walls all the way around the track.
No, it'd be him and Joey Logano, because every time Joey Logano is near my husband, freaking
Joey
God
Logano hits everyone.
Because I don't understand. Every time he's by him, he blows a tire in front of him. He's running into a wall at one point, going 3 wide. Just does not like Ryan Blaney. End of story.
Okay. And that's why we can't have nice things.
Yep, exactly.
Or we just don't invite Joey Logano to the party.
Yeah.
Anything else, Eric?
That might be it. That's safe for the podcast, at least.
Okay. Today I learned that Eric wants Meow Mix.
I do.
I also had that Eric has wieners on his underpants.
Why is this a big thing?
It was funny, Eric.
I learned that I'm the bells and whistles.
about him?
I learned what Neil's lizard looks like. And I learned that Eric looks at guys.
I'm not going there. Never mind. That's gonna be
I
He
look
has
at
pet
what?
lizards,
Guys.
Pet lizards.
I did.
I learned
What
that
guys?
Eric looks. You said
There's two of them. Too.
earlier in the show. You said when I look at guys.
You get an erection?
You said it.
Wait, can I say that on air? I already said it.
I don't know what we're talking about. And this is weird.
I don't know what I'm
So-
talking about.
We're talking about that you get an erection when you see men.
Oh my God.
Merry
Oh my
Christmas,
God.
everyone.
This has gone completely off the rails. But Eric, when you listen
It's the
back
last
to it,
episode. Who cares?
you will.
It's only for the year,
Here.
not forever.
Yeah.
It's not forever. This is my Tuesday night thing. Whenever I want to show up.
This is my Tuesday
I'm
night thing.
glad
when I
we're
show
at
up
your
Wait,
here.
convenience.
hold on.
Wednesday morning.
Wait, it's Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
it's
wait, I can't
Wednesday.
be here. Josh, I gotta leave. It's
At
Wednesday.
108.
Okay.
Well, we're an hour into Wednesday. Right?
Sorry, Sam. I gotta leave.
Oh my.
It's okay, guys.
Okay. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up.
Yay!
Yes.
That's
so
a wrap.
on behalf of Sam Ballard Jr., who's
That's
down in Daytona, Nick Rendo, who is, I have no idea where.
Calvin
Of
Klein.
course, big thanks to Brian O'Shea, who I promise will open up a little bit more when he comes back. Huge thanks to Hannah, who was amazing today. Hannah, you killed it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Neil,
you.
I know you came in late, but I would have never noticed. Would have thought you were preparing for this all
Wait,
day.
hold on. I was here before you.
So,
I feel like every time I'm here, I'm always waiting on you. Like the last time it was literally 3 hours. This time it was an hour and a half. Like I don't know what's up with you.
At least
I'm not good with
I'm
scheduling
usually the
things.
late one.
Oh well.
And Josh Matthews, for everything you've done, all the production work, you're the best. And thank you for a great year, brother. I'm Eric Brennan. Want to wish you all a very happy holidays, happy New Year to you, your family, and yours. I'll be at the Troyer's house for Christmas Eve once again for a very Troyer Christmas, and I hope to see you all soon. Good night, everybody.
Merry Xmas, everyone!
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're gonna press on, and we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.